Hi, I'm Ashton and I'm doing a free throw for basketball skill analysis. So, the purpose is to shoot the ball with force and accuracy to a net, trying to sink a shot, and if you were in a game scenario, you'd be trying to score points. So, first, I'm going to show you a video of my expert shooting a ball and trying to shoot in the net. So, first, here you can see as he's trying to take a step forward to get some momentum moving forward. So he's aligning his feet, and his feet are shoulder width apart, and he's doing this to ensure he has support. And taking this, as you've seen him taking the step forward, he was taking the step forward to get the momentum going and better accuracy and force when shooting the ball instead of standing still. For his principles, a low center of gravity, get ready to bend the knees. As you can tell, his knees are starting to bend. So for a low center of gravity. Then, just before he's about to take the shot for his backswing and recovery movements, the knees are at a 90 and the ball was at waist level. So if we go back a little bit here, see he's at a 90, and right before that, the ball was at waist level. So right here, as he's walking up, the ball's at waist level, and then as he's going, about to shoot, his knees are at a 90 degree, and the shooting hand is slightly behind the ball. So see how it's below. The ball gets raised shoulder by his shoulder flexion. Lower, so again, this is him using lower center of gravity with combination of these movements, especially with the knees bent at the 90. So it's really helping him get support, being lower to the ground and having a lower center of gravity. Now he's bending them even more, but now he's starting to go up, and the force producing movements. This is when he's trying to get all his force from down from his legs and into his arms. So this is knee, hip, and shoulder flexion. The upper arm is raised vertically upwards, and it's actually going to increase his shoulder flexion when his arm is raised up. The elbow is kept under the ball, so see how his elbow is still under the ball, but his one arm, so his right arm that he's going to be shooting with, is still at that 90 to be able to push the ball up. The other left hand is just there for support of the ball. Wrist flexion as fingers put backspin on the ball, so his wrists are actually going to help to spin the ball. And just before, so as you watch now, just before he goes, see how he's jumping off the ground opposed to standing still. When he's jumping off the ground, he's able to use that power from his legs and in his arms rather than just in his arms if he wasn't jumping. So jumping really helps him to get all the force upwards. For his principles, again, production of maximum force requires all the joints to be used. So right now he's using all his joints and all his movements while he's really jumping up. So he's using his arms, his legs, so he's using his shoulder flexion, knees, hips, wrist, so he's using all different kinds. And then production of maximum velocity requires the use of joints when he's throwing the ball, so when he's about to throw the ball. So now we're at the critical instant. So here you can see as he's just throwing it, so he's in the air, both his trunk and leg are extended. At release, the elbow was starting to approach full extension. So as you can tell here, if we rewind it a little bit, just before, see here, so his arm's still here, just before the release, the elbow is going to full extension. So see now, if we play it, it's at full extension as it's letting go. See the wrist flexion as it goes, the wrist flicks and provides the final impulse. And this is really helping to help determine both the velocity and the angle of the projection of the ball. So it's really helping with his accuracy of where he's throwing it. So his left hand drops away from the ball prior to releasing. So if you go back here a little bit and you watch, see, so both hands are still on the ball, but as he's going, the left hand actually releases first, and then it's just the right using its wrist flexion to really get the ball going, and all his force is coming from his right hand to let go of the ball. So as he's done, now his legs, so he's all extended, his legs are parallel and his legs are straight now, instead of being bent. So them being bent, they really helped to when he jumped to really use all his power from his legs. So for his principles here, movement usually occurs in the opposite that of the applied force. So that's what's happening with the ball as it's going out of his hands. Angular motion of the ball is produced by the application of force acting at some distance from the axis. So the angular motion of the ball by the wrist flexor that he's using on his right hand. And then lastly here is the angular momentum is constant when athlete is free in the air. So see now he's free in the air. If you watch the rest of the video, the ball is still spinning and it's still going. Even though he let go of it, it's still in an angular motion when he's free in the air. So lastly, following through. So as you can tell here, all joints move back to full spot. So see he's standing now, his arms go automatically down to his side. His legs are straight and he's completely, his legs are now fully extended and his trunk is now vertical and it's now his relax of all his muscles because he's completely down. And he gets the shot with the force. So for principles, full extension of elbow and wrist allows for upward force and to spin the ball. So being when he was full. Okay, so here's the rookie. The rookie has been playing basketball for a few more less years than the expert has, and the expert has had a lot more experience. The rookie has played about a year of basketball though. So right now, as you can tell when we play this video, he's not even having a walk up. So right now he walked into it. He's not having that step to help him with his force. He's just getting started. He's just going to try throwing from there. As you can tell, his feet are less than shoulder width apart, and he's standing still, so there's no walk up. Both feet are aligned with one another. The feet that are so close together, it's going to be hard for him to get as much balance because they are so close together rather than spread apart. But the ball is at the waist, and this way it's going to help him bring from the force down from his waist at least. I couldn't see any principles being used, however, because he didn't have that walk up and he's just standing still. He's not doing anything. So for the preliminary movements, he doesn't have a principle being used. So if we watch here, his knees do bend, however, but they don't quite go down to a 90. You can see this is as far as they go, and then he's already starting to bring that ball up. So both hands are on either side of the ball. He's really have good grip on the ball, and ball gets raised past the shoulders. So see, they go up. His elbows are starting to come out and kind of point out rather than stick with the ball and stick straight up. They're starting to like point out and the ball's kind of be lifted. So his arms are not getting extended. His arms are kind of going in a 90 rather. For principles, the lower center of gravity again, he's getting the lower center of gravity with his knees bent. Even though he's not quite hitting a 90, he is still using that principle because he is closer to the ground and getting the gravity and better balance, however, because it would be better than just standing straight. He does still have a little bit of bend in those knees. So then he goes right to shooting it. And see how his arms go out and then his arms move vertically upwards and both elbows are kept under the ball. Wrist flexion from both of his hands. He's not just using one like the expert did and putting his force up through one. He's actually using both and pushing. However, he's not getting any force coming up from his legs as much because he's not doing the jump. His body never lifts off the ground. So I'll show you even after it leaves. His arms are completely extended now in the air, straight up, but he's not getting as good force as the expert was because he never leaves the ground and isn't getting as good force coming through his legs. But for principles, he's using production of maximum force requires the use of all his joints because he's using all of them that he can. He was using his legs and arms, and he's using his trunk, torso. He is using all his joints here, even though it's a lot different than the expert was. He might not be, but he's not getting maximum force because his knees weren't bent. Okay, so then the ball is now take off, and he's still just standing there with his arms out. both the trunk and leg are extended. The ball was released from both hands at the same time. So this way, so if you see here, see how both hands are touching it and then they release it, both hands at the same time. But he is getting wrist flexion from both hands to help spin the ball and direct the ball. So he is still able to direct the ball with both wrists. This is another way to do it. Some may find this harder though because of not using, because sometimes it's easier to get that one hand. So for principles here, the greater the applied impulse of the ball, the greater the velocity the ball will get. So he does have a pretty good impulse of the ball though when he is throwing it, and he is throwing it with a lot of his force through his arms rather than his legs. Movement usually occurs in the direction opposite of that of the applied force, that's what's happening with the ball right now as it's spinning in the opposite way. Angular motion is produced by the application of force acting the same distance from an axis. So again, the angular motion. And then the follow through. So as you can watch here, nothing. His arms just come back because there was no jump. His feet still remain on the ground and his arms just come back and his arms just go back parallel to his side. He stands still and he stays in the exact same spot and the muscles start to relax. The angular movement of the ball is constant even when he is in the air. This applied for the expert, but since he was never in the air, it wouldn't apply for him as much. If he was in the air, though, I do believe that the angular movement of the ball would still be constant and able to spin, but he never actually was in the air because he decided to not take off from his legs, even though his legs would give him more force. So that's my rookie and my expert. Obviously you can tell the expert had a lot more experience and was able to use his force from his legs and his arms, where the rookie was kind of just relying on his arms for the force and wasn't using his legs for the force of the ball.